How are you? No, seriously, how are you? It just feels like there's a dark cloud over all of us right now, or, well, most of us. I know I do. And I'm pretty sure you are too. For the past couple of weeks alone, we've had two typhoons, for Christ's sakes. One was Tino, which had its way, let's just say that. It had its way in Cebu. Damaged a lot of things over there, a lot of lives lost, and just the sheer amount of destruction. I'm not gonna go into a long tirade about flood control and all that. I'm pretty sure most of us are across that, and that just adds more, to the madness of adult life, maybe. Because we're out here slaving away and then paying our taxes and all that stuff, and you get nothing out of it. But yeah, it's not. This is not about that. It's just been a harrowing sort of past couple of years, especially for most of us adults, or Filipino adults, just trying to make an honest living, and it's always been a balancing act. And you would really think like how the old people did it, back in the day. It's always been a balancing act between family, work, business, friends, and as we journey through various chapters in our lives, people always come and go, and but your battles remain. It's always bills, tuition, groceries, all kinds of stuff. There's always something to stress about at work. There's always something to stress about at home. Are you being a good dad? Are you being a good mom? Are you being a good, husband, partner, or wife to some of you? It's crazy, And I really just made this video just to, really just shoot the shit, but just to make you feel that you're not alone too, because all of us are going through it. I'm going through it. I don't even know what the point of this whole video is, to be honest with you. Yeah, everyone's busy in the house and all that stuff, and and as a man, you don't want to burden people with so much of your intrusive thoughts, if you will. But my intrusive thoughts, as I get older, seems to gravitate towards self-reflective things like this. Like, what am I doing? That kind of thing, and where do I add more value? In anything I get involved with, is it even worth getting involved with? That kind of thing. It's just too much, man. It's just a lot to process. So if you're going through this whole madness, just like I am, and you're thinking of, actually, it's a good idea to do, maybe make a video about it. Just document it. It's not for the views. It's just to try and reach out and see, how many else people who feel this way. So I don't know, man. I'm just winging it at this point. On my side of things, it's been crazy. There's a lot of work. I need to juggle. I feel, for the past for almost 20 years, I started working around 2004. Ever since, I never felt I really have taken a break. Sorry, pardon my manners. Yeah, so I started my career early at around 2004. Just a couple of days after my birthday, I got a job, and I was a sales rep. I just treated it like a part-time thing, just like any 18-year-old youngster at the time. And yeah, just stepped out of the house, ventured out on my own. Stumbled, fumbled, all kinds of stuff. What never changed was just the will to survive. All these years I've been doing nothing but that, just work, in hopes of a comfortable life at the very least. And now fast forward, I had it eventually. So that's a win, right? Why am I so depressed about it? It's not really depression, but it's more of, man, I'm exhausted, dude. Pretty sure if you made it this far, You probably are too. Hit me up in Discord, by the way. If you want to have a chit chat, we'll go through this together. Like I said, I'm no expert. I'm just some random guy who somehow managed to pull through. Right now it's just a matter of I'm really at a loss, just trying to figure out, all right, where's the best use of my time? Because everything just stresses me out. And I think that's part of adulthood. Not that I'm saying it's a badge of honor. No, not at all. I mean, ideally, you don't want any problems, but it's kind of a tough ask. Yeah, so I'm just going through this thing, and so ever since '04, I've done nothing but work, cycled through a few companies here and there, worked my way up from being a sales agent. Then I became a supervisor, and then I became a manager, all throughout these other companies that I worked for, as the years went by, and never really had like a true break, up to, the point where, I started becoming more serious, senior manager, department head, director, in parallel to that, I was also trying to, put some money in on the side, and get something back and try to invest in, is what I'm saying. So, because I've always thought, business was kind of fun, but to me, it's just the art of being of value to people. It seems easy when they say, if you need 1 billion pesos or $1 billion, just fix $1 billion problem. But those problems are really, really hard to think of. I spent all these years, just trying to figure out what I could do, and I've never given up on that. I've always believed that you can pause, but never stop. And that's always been my mantra in everything. And I always have this, and I kind of have this unhealthy habit of just conjuring up little delusions of slight, towards me, that I just manufacture things in my head, such as, there's a lot of people at work who say, I can't do this, I can't do that. And for some crazy reason, I just zero in on those and just start crushing it, or figure out how to crush it, and, and sort of change those perceptions, or without saying it directly. Yeah, while I was climbing through the ranks, 2010, had kids. We were blessed to have twin girls. My eldest made it, and then the other twin passed away a few months later on my birthday, because of various congenital syndromes. But during that time, I was very aggressive in getting her treated, and spent everything. Just got loans, all kinds of stuff, and that sort of buried me. But it didn't matter, because for me at the time, having a kid was a blessing, and I've never been happier. Just, okay, to the functional dads out there, you know what I'm trying to say. That sort of kicks you into autopilot, and say, and because you're thinking, all right, I got responsibilities now, so what do we do? And so, just push through that. Lost her on my birthday, lost her on the day of my birthday, and in my arms at midnight. That was heavy. My brother came in, my boys arrived, Dennis and Ryan came in, and it was just a sad day, period. And we got through that. Now I had to double time at work, and navigating all these other domestic issues that came out of just being in debt. And your life was seemingly falling apart and all that stuff, and you're just trying to hold everything together, as much as you can. Sometimes you win, sometimes you don't. You just keep trucking along. Yeah, so just engulf myself in work, or not only trying to prove yourself, but also trying to just survive, and make it, make it enough that you could probably start rebuilding. That was the only hope then. And cycled through a few, just less than a handful more companies after that, and just focused on what I did best at that time, which is make money from my career, and learn as much as I can, make the right choices, stay out of trouble, make smart choices, know the right people, hang out with them, be friends with them, be of use to them, so that kind of thing. It's a never ending sort of balancing act, for us, which, admittedly drives you crazy after a while, So now looking back, I'm kind of trapped what year it is. I always feel it's like '04 or something. So old, man. 2025. Yeah, there you go. So yeah, you could say that, it's working for what, 20 years now, actually. Jesus, my math is off today. It's just a lot to think of, man. It's just a lot to process lately. So yeah, and now fast forward to being an executive with bigger responsibilities, it's just bigger everything, I mean, the pay is really nice. You can afford a suburban life, and yeah, everything's nice, right? Everything should be okay. And looking back, this is the kind of comfort, I was really just trying to get to, But then again, every time you seem to climb a mountain and step on what you think is the top, almost always becomes apparent there's a steeper slope to climb. Yeah, and then I realized, what am I really doing? I've dedicated my life to, to what I do: sales, account management, relationship management, just to help companies I work for generate more revenue, and in turn sort of helps the economy in a sense, because whatever you do, if you do it well in those spaces, creates a lot of jobs, and when you go to the grocery and you see people and wearing company shirts and all that, and you can't help but smile and think to yourself, how many of these people had jobs just because I decided to go to work that day, it just puts an entirely different perspective in what you do. Now it's not just it's not just about the pay anymore and what it can afford you. It's also it's also about the impact your work has on the community, in a sense. And I try to think of it that way. These are the things I tell myself every time I feel like I'm about to slip away, or let up. Developing all these check and balances internally is pretty crazy. It's just born out of the fear of, listen, failure is not the scary part, because the reason why I don't fear failure that much is when you fail, it's still a win. Because when you fail, there's so much to learn and unpack there for it to not happen again, at the very least. I mean, that's how I think of it. So you could say it's still a win, I mean, it's not failure, it's more of a lesson. So I'm not trying to water it down, I'm not trying to minimize you, or I'm just saying it's just how I see it for me, and what I think works for the most part for me. And then you have growing kids, Gen Alpha teenagers. Don't get me started. I'm gonna go crazy every time I go crazy on my daughter. And I always think that they also grew up in a different environment. They're fully digital natives, the kids. Well, unlike us millennials, we're pretty much the last generation that grew up in more traditional means, if you will. Brought up with boy and opo, elders will slap the shit out of you if you don't say any of those properly. You got G-check. And then there's that too. There's the OG factor, because our elders G-check your ass if you sort of acted a fool, Kumbaga. Po and opo were standard. You're non-negotiable. When you go to a tita's place or somebody else's place with your parents, you mano to everybody in there. Dude, I mano to even the yayas, man. Everybody, including the dogs, just to avoid a beating from the old people. So it was a different day, and it didn't have the internet. All of us knew the one way to enjoy or have a good time during childhood was to get on your bike or get out of the house, dance in the rain, mess around with your friends, get into all kinds of little rascals type of shenanigans, or play basketball, pico for the girls, lagat lupa, bangsap, yeah. Maro, just my favorite, personal favorite. Yeah, man. And it was just a fun time, and we were brought up that way. And you acted a certain way, if you cross the line, these elders, they don't play around, man. They'll kick the shit out of you. Like, you come across those people, like millennials are pretty good at this. When you come across people, you can tell if someone got an ass kick ever, because they were very proper and they're nice with it. They got manners and all that, versus the ones who didn't, They'll You know, those people who, this one has never been punched in the face kind of face. Yeah, those people kind of annoying too. I just avoid them. You know, it's not even worth it right now. You know, man, I'm getting old. I'm turning 40 next year, so that's another thing. You know, that's probably why I'm so stressing out right now. You know, you're at that mid-year. All right, what the hell have I been doing? But yeah, you know, everything seems to be trucking along. It's just that, you know, after slaving away every day, you know, day in and day out, you know, you work, a couple of ventures here and there, a couple of hobbies here and there, you know, and nothing seems to be hitting for me. And now I stumbled onto making videos on YouTube like this, you know, instead of just losing my mind about some random thing I want to rant about at work. You know, every time I feel down or something, you know, I just think, oh my God, that's an episode. You know, I've written so many of these crappy videos already, and you know, my I don't know, man. My editing's not getting any better. You know, yeah, but I really enjoyed doing this because it felt more of like an escape for me, or not really an escape, but I'd say maybe a diversion or a pressure release or a blow off valve. Yeah. So, because what got me into this was just the stress, you know, I was just managing a few ventures on the side. You know, I had my executive day job, you know, and then had to juggle being a dad, cook my daughter baon, and then cook dinner, catch up with the girls, see what's going on, you know, family catch up. I go back to retreat to my study, you know, do a bit more work, maybe attend a meeting or two. And then that's been my life. Like whatever remains of the evening, I just sleep it off and, you know, wake up at 4:30 and then just repeat the whole thing. And that kind of and that kind of takes a lot, you know, from you, right? And then it reached a point, all right, you know, just a lot of things going on at work, there's restructuring and all kinds of madness. And, you know, I had to navigate through that, you know, go be of counsel to people, you know, be there for your guys, try to be the light, you know, that guides the people around you. That's already heavy enough. And then you had to actually do your job. And then you had to do all these other things, you know, every day. You know, it's nonstop. Saturdays takes up my time. You know, I had to, you know, do those ventures, you know, do some early palengke or marketing, get some food, you know, buy meat, you know, all kinds of stuff, hold that back in the house, do whatever venture I have during the daytime, drive around with the girls, you know, pasyal, coffee, you know, maybe eat out, you know, it's just those little things I try to do for us and the family, you know, just to sort of change the scenery a little bit. And the Sunday, you know, was all about, all right, slowing everything down. We need to rest because Monday's going to be crazy. Whoever invented Monday should be shot in the head. Like, seriously, I hate Mondays, but we got to deal with it. When I start my company, I'm not going to start work on Monday. I'm going to make Tuesday the new Monday, and then I'm going to hate Tuesday too. Anyways, so in essence, thinking of what video to put together, you know, I really had no idea how to do things. When I started, well, I still don't know how to edit properly. You know, I don't care. You know, I just hastily put like a slideshow together. I feel it's like a slideshow. It's my first, 2 or a couple of videos, and then didn't even bother about the audio, just slapped everything together, stitched them. I didn't even know how to cut it. I'm not saying I'm good now. My cutting is terrible. It's kind of choppy, if you would see, you know, like that. Help me. But anyways, you know, so that's it. And, you know, just the whole process it's just so enjoyable for me, you know, like thinking of what to say in front of the camera. You know, initially I started just with my Mac and, you know, shot with that webcam that I had on there. And then just generated some AI B-rolls, worked on my prompting, and, you know, 'cause I got caught in that AI hype and just dabble into AI for my own use cases kind of thing. I started having fun generating videos. I'm a huge Pixar fan until I realized I look more of a cartoon in real life. So I tried to do that, and it was pretty fun. You know, editing everything was pretty fun too. And then I never thought video editing would be so engaging for me and therapeutic. It's now my favorite stress release sort of thing. And I'm not saying I'm getting better at it, because editing a 10-minute or 15-minute video takes me like, I don't know, a day. It's crazy, you know, so I'm not that good yet. And the whole learning process is just the fun part for me. You know, you get to learn new things, and, you know, I share with my brothers, you know, what do you think? You know, lighting needs to be this, lighting needs to be that, try using this, try using that, LED bar, box, blah, blah, blah. So while I was struggling to think of, you know, what else to do in life, once I started getting anxious about, my daily routine and the job and the stress of, just being a dad, just being the head of the household and mini capitalist, it's kind of, it's going to get you. Let's just say that. Trying to find something that you love doing is going to be a bonus. That's why I always tell my kid, while you're young, while you're in your teenage years, it's always best to just find a passion, because the tragedy here is a lot of people go through life not figuring out what their real calling is, or what their true passion is, or where their passion lies. So it's very important, to find something. And, it's one of them people. Just doing so many things, in the band, DJ, radio. It was fun, met a lot of people, made a lot of friends. A lot of people knew that, but something was always missing, as I went through all these years. And that's probably the source of my frustrations or my anxiety, is doing something or pursuing something that you actually are passionate about, that you actually love, and I came to love this. And, now I'm doubling down, I'm buying equipment left and right, and I don't even know how to use half of them. Some of them are still in boxes, but I don't care. I'm just trying to capitalize on while I have the means to do it. And everything is okay. Why not? No matter how noisy things get, it's just the will to just do things. And I'm not shy to use all these beginner friendly tools, CapCut. I just started figuring out, now maybe 30 videos into this whole YouTube thing since I started roughly 2 months ago, 3 months ago, so from 0 to, all 2,000 of you, which is pretty crazy, which I never expected, just stitched a video together, uploaded it. If I get 2 views that are not the people in this house, I'll be happy. And yeah, so there's obviously a bit more people than that, in the first one. The second one I did that, I think I had 20 views or something. I don't want to check it. But, and there's also that thing after you upload it, I don't want to watch it because it's cringy to me, but screw it, I did it anyways. I don't care. Yeah, because one of the fun parts is, I want to see maybe I'm going to commit 2 or 3 years of doing this nonstop and see where it goes. If anything positive happens, or any major positive thing happens over the next 2-3 years of doing this, then yeah, but I'm giving myself that much time to, just dial everything in. So I don't even know what my niche is right now. I'm just doing whatever video I want to do. And I think that's the point. Just try shit. So in order for me to do that, and one of the major things that I struggle with was just getting it done. It's an irony. I've made a living out of getting things actually done, but the hardest thing for me is just starting something. This time I just made sure that I won't have any excuses not to do it. I had the means to do it anyways. So, already have a phone, I have a little computer here, and just start making videos with what I have and stitch them together. And I didn't know how to edit, so I just searched and landed on CapCut, which is super easy to pick up, and it was also in my phone. It's also in the Mac, and easy for me to stitch something together and not stress out about all these other technical stuff. Because it's, all I'm saying is just find tools that give you less friction, just the amount of friction that it takes to actually use it. Because if it's too complicated to use, chances are you won't even use it. Even if you're going to learn it, it's going to take a lot of time for you to figure it out, and by then you might be in another new hobby. Drones, you have cameras, and and once you start nerding out, it's going to be an entirely different hobby. You started as a creator or a content creator, and now you're just freaking into drones and just going crazy and race FPVs or something. I don't know. It doesn't really matter what kind of paintbrush it is. If it's a small paintbrush, a big paintbrush, a massive paintbrush, as long as it's a paintbrush, just grab it and do it. It doesn't really matter. What matters is what your goal is. So, get all these easy to use things and, stitch something together and just do something. And then, getting better will be, I think, inevitable. Yeah. But amidst all of these things that we do, now we're here at this point, and I'm really going to take this seriously. And, I just want to create videos that may be of value to people or at least try to reach out to people, not only share what I know, but more of learn. Really, really want to get better at this too. But, like I said, I'm not an expert, I'm just a regular ass dude who knows things, who struggled enough, who's dabbled in so many other things, and a constant work in progress. All I'm saying is it's okay to not be okay. It's perfectly valid. You're not alone in that. Whatever you feel, if you're lost, you're confused, or you're just overwhelmed, always think that when it's dark, it's only a matter of time before light comes back. It's just that. Just give yourself that permission to not be okay, every once in a while. But accepting that is not just enough. You also have to find the strength in you to find anything that could motivate you to just pick yourself back. Because no one is going to fight your battles for you, man. You're going to do this on your own, for real. I don't care. You have a wife, you have a husband, you have a mom, a dad, a brother, or a couple of them. It's okay not to be okay, all right? Just be kind to yourself. I know when I say be kind to yourself, I don't know, man, because it's just so easy. It's so easy being kind to others except ourselves. When I say be kind to yourself, allow yourself to process the things that you can't process instantly. We're not all that good, There's always a chink in everybody's armor. Hindi mo pwede makuha lahat, Yeah. Pangit, mayaman naman, maganda, pera. You can't have it all, man. Just be kind to yourself. Allow yourself time, especially even to daily things, Don't let yourself panic during the morning, scrambling, oh my God, ako magsuklay, or toothbrush, breakfast, etc. And then you hop into the car and realize you forgot your pants, and then you go back in. Don't do that to yourself. Sleep early, all right? And then wake up early. That way you have a lot of time to, take it easy. All right. Okay. Be cool with it. There's coffee in peace, hit the showers, dress up, not forgetting your pants, get in the car, get out and go out there, make your bread. It's those, just allowing yourself time to prepare, time to mourn, time to grieve, time to not be okay. Just not be hard on yourself, Give yourself a fighting chance to succeed in every little thing that you do. It's the very definition of being kind to yourself. It's not about just, oh my God, I need ice cream. That's not it, man. That's just bribing yourself, pretty much. It's what I do all the time. But yeah, if you're going through things, like me, there's so many things in your head, old man rambles like this one. There's always help out there. Reach out to a friend. Reach out to a brother, reach out to a sister, just reach out to somebody, drop a message in Discord, we'll be there, if you want to have a chat. I got a couple of private chats going on in there, but, nothing in the public boards, but, maybe, I guess that helps. We'll navigate through this whole mess together and, always try to figure things out. And I'm pretty sure this is not the last of my old man rambles. I'm going to keep creating dumbass, pointless videos, and yeah, you're not alone. All right, we'll be fine. And as always, thank you for taking the time to watch me slip slowly into madness. You take care out there, my friend. Reach out if you need a friend. Salamat for watching.